Hello, Internet friend. Today on Value Side, there's a cancer eating at our economy. It's our debt-based financial system. But does Washington get it? I'm David Ravel. Well, imagine a situation where nearly 4 cents of every dollar you earn is taken away, charged as a tax, yet contributes nothing. As a citizen, this charge provides no services, no schools, no national defense, no social services. In the words of economist Lacy Hunt, it is simply a dead weight loss. The expense we're talking about is the interest on our national debt, a charge that now exceeds $1 trillion per annum. It is all part of an interlocking, complex web of encumbrances that saddles every man, woman, and child in America. It's also the flashpoint that ignites one of the most public spats in the new Trump administration. Undoubtedly, you are aware of Elon Musk storming out of the White House. In an altercation fought mainly through their respective social media platforms, Musk owns X, formerly Twitter, Trump owns True Social, each was called names, accusations were made, and a level of pettiness reached that we've seldom seen in the upper echelons of government before. But setting aside the personal pettiness, at its heart was Musk's reactions to the big, beautiful bill, President Trump's budget for the next fiscal year. The Congressional Budget Office projects that this new bill, packed with substantial additional spending, will add $1.9 trillion to next year's deficit, and up to $4 trillion to the deficits over the next decade. Interestingly, the CBOE projection is very optimistic considering economic growth. The CBO assumes that the economy will grow at a 1.8% rate over that next decade. This is important, as more economic growth means higher tax revenue and thereby reduces government debt. But the latest report on the nation's economy, the GDP, shows that the economy shrank by 0.5%, and historically, any economic activity at this level would profoundly add to the government's deficits. You see, to boost the economy, the federal government continues to spend even though tax revenue declines, creating much greater deficits. So we're beginning to see just why Elon Musk was so upset. After all, he came to Washington expressly to curtail government deficits, to lower this unbridled spending. And President Trump has just rolled out the largest budget in history in total disregard for the nation's debt problem. To Musk, it must have seemed like all that work over at DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, was in vain. In one fell swoop, Trump has just upped spending by millions of levels over what Musk had saved through his DOGE spending cuts. Talk about going in opposite directions. For Musk, this must have been personal. After all, he had suffered severe blows to his reputation. As the point man for laying off hundreds of federal employees, Musk has gained the animus of entire departments within the bureaucracy. What's more, political liberals felt that he had gone too far in reducing government spending, and he was now feeling their ire. Incidentally, many of those people were Tesla owners, and they were upset that the CEO of Tesla would do such a thing. None of this affected the president, who regaled all in the passage of his first significant piece of legislation. While the big, beautiful budget may have achieved much of Trump's objectives, enhanced defense spending, benefits for specific industries and businesses, the chief attribute will have little or no effect on future economic growth. President Trump noted the importance of extending the tax cuts initiated during his first administration through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which went into effect on January 1, 2018, individual tax rates for those who earned more than $9,500 per year were reduced, as well as certain additional deductions allowed. Additionally, there was a substantial reduction in the corporate income tax rate to a flat 21%. While these lower rates needed to be extended, reverting to the older higher rates would have been a significant drag on the economy. Moreover, maintaining a tax rate that has been in effect for 7 years, however, provides little or no current boost in economic activity. There is one point that the president makes that we'd like to take seriously. We began this discussion by noting Lacy Hunt's sentiment that interest on national debt is an economic deadweight loss. It contributes nothing to America's prosperity. Yet it costs over $1 trillion per year. If there's one person who would understand the cost of borrowing, it's the president. After all, almost every building that he has built has a mortgage, and the interest expense has been central to his success as a real estate developer. So when he says that the Federal Reserve needs to lower interest rates, Trump is speaking as a long-term borrower, and we ought to listen. A quick back-of-the-envelope analysis of the recent history of our national debt shows the inevitable impact of the Fed's policy on higher interest rates. In Q1 2022, before the Fed started raising rates, our national interest expense was $637 billion annually. Today, our interest expense is, as we indicated, nearly $1.1 trillion, almost double the interest expense in just 3 years. Why is this? Because the Federal Reserve raised its base interest rate from 0.12% to 4.33%. It was higher earlier, they've just reduced it. On a percentage basis, this is likely the most significant move in interest rates in our nation's history. Today, we're continuing to live off the benefits of the Fed's prior lower interest rates. For 2 years, from 2020 to 2022, the Fed instituted what Wall Street called ZRIP, zero interest rate policy. This means that we could borrow with little or no cost. The Fed began raising interest rates in the second quarter of 2022, 3 years ago. But any T-bond or note with a maturity of longer than 3 years continues with that lower rate. Over time, the lower interest rate will be replaced by a new prevailing rate as older bonds and notes are rolled over. A quick calculation reveals that currently we're paying an overall rate of just 0.3%, 0.3%, on the Treasury's debt. But that rate has risen 6 basis points in 3 years and will continue to rise as old debt matures and is replaced with new, higher interest rates. Now, the impact on U.S. Treasuries, the notes, bonds, and bills that make up most of our country's borrowings, has been substantial. Had the Fed maintained rates at the Q1 2022 level, we would be saving roughly 1/3 of our current interest expense. Regrettably, the president has made his campaign for lower interest rates personal, aimed squarely at the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell. It's unfortunate, because the argument for lower interest rates goes far beyond Chairman Powell. It goes to the very center of our nation's finances. Although everyone won't be pleased with lower rates, savers in particular, of whom I'm one, would not welcome decreases in income from their savings. But as a way to climb out of the financial hole we find ourselves in, it's worth looking at all the alternatives. With an overall benefit measured in hundreds of billions of dollars, we need to begin to look at unconventional methods, such as lowering interest rates, to reduce our country's financial burden. And that's today's Value Side. For all of our articles, references, and podcasts, visit valueside.com. I'm David Ravel. ValueSide is independently written and researched. The views expressed are strictly my own.